Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tantra Hour.
Rebellion Tantra Hour, that's right. Because it's us, but talking about Tantra. But yeah, we're happy to be here, and we're just letting you guys know we're going to be moving over to YouTube, you know, and putting up videos there under the title Rebellion. So
hope everyone's having a good Sunday night, relaxing,
yeah,
hopefully with a loved one, or at least someone you love to be with.
And if you didn't know, because this is Tantra Hour, it is Navratri. It is the second day of Navratri right now.
Not everyone knows what that is, huh?
I'm about to say what it is. CJ. Here, put this up. It's the second day of Navratri. It's a huge festival of the goddess in India. It's twice a year. It's when the weather changes, actually, between summer and fall, and between fall and or winter and spring rather. We only have two seasons here in California, and that's winter and summer and shit, you know. So we only have hot and cold here in California. But yeah, so it's getting cold now, and this is when Navratri happens. The first day of Navratri, I can tell you, is about the very first incarnation of the goddess. Let's really quick say thank you to Ganesh, Om Gam Ganapati Nama, because you should always thank him first in Tantra. He's a great guy. He's equivalent to Metatron and to Hermes, to all the gatekeeper people. You know, he's a great guy. But the first incarnation of the goddess it's a complicated story, but there's a few different versions of it. One of the earliest versions of it, there was the creator god came to Earth in an egg-shaped something and created humanity. And he started by creating a female equivalent to himself, who was his wife. However, other beings from outside came, didn't like that. They felt like this was some kind of incest, basically, and they killed him for it, and she burned herself to death. That's an early one. The one they tell now is that she's the daughter of Daksha, and when she fell in love with Shiva, he was a dick, and he didn't like it, and he was really jealous. And that's probably levels of truth to that, too, I'm sure, and different incarnations, different times and things. And, you know, when she went, he had a party, didn't invite them. She went anyway because he's her father, and he talked so much shit about Shiva that she burned herself to death in that way. And that actually became kind of a horrible thing for a little while because there was a lot of pressure for hundreds of years for women to burn themselves to death on their husband's funeral pyres because of these kinds of things. So that's not good, but the feeling is good and the sentiment is good, you know. And I wanted to share with you really quickly this guy, Tatwali Baba. He was born in 1884 and he died in 1974. And I'm going to show you what he looked like, and you are going to trip so hard, okay? He was 90 years old when he died, and he looked about 35 years old. So I'm going to show you right now. We're going to show you a couple minutes of it, then I'm going to move into the bedroom so we can be more private. Okay, let me see if I can. All right, so let's play it, and I'll turn this around and make sure you guys can see. All right, hold on. That's him right there. You see his hair, how long his hair is? He was 90 years old in that. He's 90 years old there. Supposedly, according to the people, he was 90 years old.
He passed away in 1974.
Here he comes down.
He was approximately 90 years old. He was also known as ageless yogi. He was also known as the wise man of the mountain. Ageless yogi because he had stopped aging after 35 years. And even in this photograph and the video, which is available, he's somewhere around 90 years old, but he doesn't look that age. He looks around 30 plus.
All right.
Very strong,
so that's all you need to see. I just want you can look it up online, Tatwala Baba. He's just fascinating to me. That's actually a low level of immortality. You know, if you stay ageless until your natural death, that's totally within the realm even if you're not wanting to become an avatar or anything really special, you can achieve that. You're not doing anyone any harm. You're not hurting yourself or anything. You're just, if you achieve that, you've overcome a lot of karma, okay? So, yeah, I just wanted to share what's possible with people. So we're going to go,
walk through our treasure.
yeah, no, they'll be looking at my face, CJ, don't worry. He's like, he doesn't like to, now we went through the dark hallway. Here we go. All right, now we're back. It's a slightly better environment. So, a little more private environment. But what I'm saying is, within the realm of like Taoism and Tantra, if you achieving agelessness means you've overcome a lot of your karma, okay? People who are elites and do evil stuff to try to do that, first of all, they're very minimally effective, if at all. And second of all, it's much easier just to be a good person and to actually, just meditate and do really that. Just meditate every day, and you'll be so far ahead of the game. And then do like energy work, different meditations for your chakras. All those things add up, and they help a lot toward being ageless. And like I said, if you're ageless, you overcome a lot, and it means you have a really solid spiritual body, so that when you die, you can choose to work on that body and then become truly immortal on that side. Or you can choose to come back. But those bodies last much, much longer than what will happen if you just die naturally. It'll be like aging in a different way on that side, because you'll eventually have to reincarnate, because your consciousness won't have a form to fit into partway. So do you have the stand? Cool. The stand. So on the Navratri, they celebrate 9 different versions of the goddess on the 9 different nights, and they represent like 9 reincarnations. But there's hundreds and hundreds of reincarnations of the goddess. Basically, every woman, in a sense, is an incarnation of the goddess. It's just how connected you are and how aware you are of your own goddessness. But getting your kundalini active is huge. It's a huge, huge deal when it comes to becoming a god or a goddess. You getting your kundalini active is the biggest deal when it comes to that, apparently. I just learned something cool. I just learned about this thing called the divine pearl that gets activated within you and it will give you immortality, like spiritual immortality. And that comes from, you have to have your kundalini woke for that to happen, I'm pretty sure, because I think it happened to me, and I think it happened about a month after that. I think, because they're connected. It was something that was inside my body, in my chakra system, that got activated. So I'm pretty sure that you have to have that first. Look at, he wants to be Billy Butcher for Halloween.
Got the beard. And I'm sure that all the diehard boys fans out there remember that in the comic, he didn't have a beard at all. But Carl Urban does such a great job with that beard and his character for the show. Man, it's an easy one.
He does.
Little thing of beard dye. A coat, we're good to go. So yeah, I hope everyone's having a good week and a better weekend. As she was saying, there's all these techniques for ladies out there as well. And, don't be ashamed to manifest your sexual energy as much and as often as you need to, even at work. We were watching the comedian Bert Kreischer. He's got a funny joke, and he was talking about, how it's easier for a woman to know with certainty she's brought a man to orgasm because you've got visible proof.
Yeah,
every single time. You either get a result or you don't. You know what I mean? And I told, a friend of mine, well, that is true with women as well. You know what I mean? And you got to think it the same way if you're going to get kind of crass about it, but think of it in terms of a factory. You know what I mean? Okay? And you've got a candy factory. Okay, there's candy, right? You get the candy. But women are a little different. They're a little higher. They're a little more technical. So you have to think of women like you would basically like a place where you melt steel. Okay? And the way you'll know is you'll get the steam whistle. Okay? Now, it differs from woman to woman, in terms of vocal response, but there's a couple of things that are invariable signs, of a woman's orgasm. Number one, extremely protruded nipples. Now that's kind of because women can get that obviously during arousal, but if you get that in conjunction with fluttering of the eyes, rolling of the eyelids, uncontrollable thing, and most importantly, a modeling of the skin, okay? If she said she came and her skin is in these nifty little modelings, either it was a really poor orgasm or she's a bullshitter. You know what I mean? Because when you give a woman a good, healthy orgasm, their skin will model. It's beautiful. It's like a little pattern for you to admire. Oh, look, I made her a roadmap. How righteous. You know? The capillaries will distend, you know, because the blood flow to the vagina, and it forms just these, you know, and it's definitely easy to see on someone like her or a lighter-skinned girl. It's almost impossible to see if you're past a certain skin hue.
I'm learning things, too. This is crazy.
Yeah. But, I mean, and I would look at these things not because a woman shouldn't have to, I mean, it should be just that the man being attentive, or woman, whatever, lover, is being attentive and going, okay, that's cool, because, have saying, did you come? Even if you made her come like a freight train rolling downhill on a 90-degree angle, dude, that's just, you know what I mean? Yeah, the boys is the shit, dude. Hell yeah. So, yeah, definitely look for these little things, these little physiological clues, you know, breathing. It's very hard for a woman to really orgasm without getting kind of taut, you know what I mean, as the muscles are contracting. And I said, guys, you know, you go, if her kegels aren't contracting, she's probably not having an orgasm. You know what I mean? In the sense that she's getting a really good clitoral and inherent vaginal stimulation. But the point I was getting back to this is, I was always kind of envious that some women can have an orgasm just by squeezing it. I think they're rubbing it, just squeezing it. Yeah. You know? I used to know girls like that. She's like, oh, yeah, I have like 40 orgasms a day. And I was like, awesome. And one of the real reasons is because I was like, no, I get it, man. I'm one of those guys that people get jealous of shit of, and I can't even talk about it because people get so fucking butthurt if I even mention it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can only imagine what it would be like to feel this crank them out all day long, like little mini fucking speedballs, you know? And she's like, oh, yeah, it's awesome. I almost do no drugs ever. You know, when I go out to clubs, I don't even really drink more than a little drink because, and I go, why would you? You know, why would you? Every drug ever made is just that. You know what I mean? I tell people, if you've got a real problem with drugs or alcohol, you need to jerk off a lot more. Seriously. Yeah. Take it from an ex-donkey, man. If you never had just a good, mind-bending fucking rolling orgasm where your eyes go and you feel sleepy and you're about to crash out, yeah.
See, they make us feel so ashamed of sex. Sex is not something to be ashamed
of.
Because
let's be dead honest, guys. They couldn't sell the beer.
Sex to make dirty things the only thing that turn you on, that's what our culture should be ashamed of, okay? Yeah. It's not the sex. It's the fact that you feel so dirty. Only feeling dirty is what gets you off, and that's sad. Yeah. You know? And that's the way most people are. They have to it has to be dirty for them to really enjoy it. Yeah. That's programming that comes from media and social and all kinds of stuff from early on.
Look, I keep saying that sex sells, but more than that, sexual repression sells.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sex sells. America specifically is repressed. Whereas Europe is not repressed. They're the opposite. They're
definitely better now than in the past years, especially since the new generation just isn't going to tolerate that kind of nonsense anymore.
Like, they don't do violence at all in Europe, but they're very open sexually to the point where a lot of us would be a little icked by it. And like here, it's the opposite. We're very violent, and we don't see that as wrong at all, you know? Yeah. And they do that on purpose. They love... The people, the elites, they deliberately play on our natural tendencies.
To be fair, every family and every culture has their own different ways what they consider to be appreciable or not. But on the whole,
I'm just as a whole.
Who's the poster holding the gun?
Oh, you mean in the background or in the voice poster, man? I'm not sure because there's no guns in this thing, man. That's just he's holding an accordion in that one, and that's Yul Brynner up in the top.
Yeah, it's an accordion and some maracas. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
There's no, we don't have.
Or if you're thinking of the voice poster, man, there's a couple of them. I'm not sure, but yes, that's just beautiful. And that's the point, guys. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's natural. It's healthy. Yeah. You know, it's good for the blood flow. God, what was there? This hilarious Rob Zombie cartoon, El Sexorcisto. If you've never seen it, you want to see a good, funny adult cartoon. I'm not going to say it's a winner all the way through, but it should give you a good chuckle. But there's this one point where he has this song about masturbation, you know, something, and it relieves blood pressure, choke it up for the USA. You know, it's a funny song. It's a good advocation. But, yeah, our whole point is we want people to be as healthy, as happy, as loving to themselves and one another as possible. So, you know, definitely, you know, have as many orgasms a day as you can and be proud of it, you know. But the same joke as I say, if you're meeting people who are, for whatever reason, just mentally stilted or, you know, socially, don't try to help them, but don't, because honestly to them, you're just bragging, and as much as you might want to help them, some people kind of need to just revel in their misery, so to speak.
Well, like what I would say is some people have had it so inculcated that it would be better for them to be celibate for a while and get over it and just forget about sex, period, for a while, so that you don't have, so it's not an issue for you, you know. But that's something you go through, and maybe people spend whole lives going through it, but same people for just a few years, you know. It just depends on you and, you know, what you're doing.
I think that so many people now have said that after so many years of people not being able to have sex, you know, without love and marriage and the whole 9 yards, this thing that, you know, the whole point of sexual revolution in the 60s was, you know, you can feel free to have relatively guilt-free sex without having a permanent attachment to a partner. And the whole point of that was that back in the day, you know, oftentimes a man would have sex with a woman, accidentally or inadvertently, even deliberately impregnate her, and then waltz off, you know, and that wasn't fair because the burden would be on the woman.
I mean,
until, though, women could be like, I don't really care, dude. You can't, I mean, so I have a greater freedom. I don't have to feel guilty or ashamed. And men also really cool. Now, you know, I don't have to worry that I might actually bring the child.
And here's the thing. It's not like there weren't methods.
The thing is, that actually allowed people to truly have love for one another, to really, but not feel, they felt love without feeling a compulsion to be tied or have a relationship past a certain point, because the whole point was everyone was deadlocked. Like, I'm going to marry you, you're going to marry me, and we'll live till we fucking croak. You know what I mean? And just the idea that you can have a relationship just for like a year or two and then just happily together say, okay, we had great sex, I just kind of want to move on and you want to move on, cool. The idea that this could be in any way socially acceptable was literally such a revolution that there caused a schism between the old and the new.
It did,
You know, and that the old people were like, no, you're dirty and you're filthy. You know, I've eaten pussy and I've done this and I fuck hookers in Korea or whatever. You know what I mean? But this is just wrong. It's like, because to them the idea was, you know, you had to have this committed mentality. You had to be stuck. Even though they knew that it oftentimes led to desperate misery and unhappiness, they were like, that's just the way it should be. And when you question and go, but why? Why is it wrong for human beings to be happy? Why is it right for human beings to lock themselves into a cycle of misery? You know what I mean? Because some social covenant said so? If everyone stands up and goes, hey, man, we are the people in Plato's cave, and there's shadows on that fucking wall, and there's real people outside.
Let's just say something real quick about people's decision-making skills when they're kids, okay?
Yep. Because
the thing is, a lot of us make stupid decisions when we're young, like I did, and what's funny is you have these arranged marriages in India, and they base them on their astrological charts. And they're actually more successful than most of the marriages here. And that's probably because they actually do understand what kind of people they are and they're going to become. That isn't to say that should be imposed on you. Like, you know, just it should be something that because honestly, the reason we go through pain is because we have karma and we have things we're trying to learn. One of the reasons they like astrology to be somewhat vague. Like with Western astrology, I wouldn't even. It's good for some things, but if you really want astrology, go for Vedic astrology, because that will tell you actual events that are going to happen in your life in order. It's really, really specific, and it's not just personality stuff or how you feel. It's literally like at this point in your life, you're going to get married. Someone will die.
It's kind of like your own personal farmer's almanac.
It's like a farmer's almanac of your life. And there's like 12 charts, one chart for every single house, and it gets really, really deep, and it's actually very powerful. I've never seen anything as good as it. It makes me believe in the Matrix, basically. I'm like, the Matrix is astrology, and that's how it works, you know?
Yeah, because I've had people do my chart and this and that before, whatever, and never tried, but it was a young lady friend of mine who had actually done it with the Vedic, and she's the first one who told me, oh no, there's actually there's an older Indian way of doing it that's called the Vedic method, and that tended to be much more accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I believe now.
The Western astrology goes by tropical, and that's your ideal self, or how people see you, how you want people to see you mostly. It's not who you really are, and it's not really, and it doesn't even, and a lot of Western astrology doesn't even cover a lot of the same things that Vedic astrology covers at all.
Think of Vedic astrology as being like an owner's manual, and Western astrology as being like a, makeup guide or how to dress.
Here's something that I loved about it, that I can explain easily. So here we have, aspects, we have conjunctions and squares and things like that. They have that, but they also have this thing where, say, your 8th house is Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So then you look where Saturn is in your chart. And that Saturn is affecting your whatever planet is in your Aquarius because they're connected. And you can create this, and it creates these whole other kind of aspects that are like so much deeper, actually. And that's just the beginning. It's like, you know, and like I said, they do charts on different houses, and it gets so crazy. Yeah, I would definitely, KRS Astrology on YouTube, and he has a website, KRS Astrology. He is great for teaching Vedic astrology. He's a funny guy, and he makes it really fun to watch him. So, yeah, he's great. This is, like I said, this is one of the things I started having the spirits telling me stuff, like, you know, how the energies flow and everything and how they work. And it's crazy because, I was looking at the law of one, and something specific that my buddy, my higher dimensional partner, told me was like, it was exactly what he said. And I was like really surprised. Like, I was like, I've been tripping on it for like ever since.
Her hardest problem is that she knows it's there, but it's hard for her to accept that what is because, you know,
I just get messed with
tricked. You know what I mean? You're like, look, man, it is what it is. You know, it's cool. It's not deceptive that. But so-and-so said it might not be, or this thing's nagging back in my head and telling me, well, yeah, that's the darkness or the negativity or whatever you want to label it as. You know, it's a trickster thing in the sense that
I'm getting through my shadow
negative
stuff
tricksters,
now.
okay, they're just trying to trick you up for their own purposes. And then there's the ones that are just trying to make you appreciate it, make you laugh a little bit more, and understand the stupidity or futility of some human.
But it gives me a lot of faith.
If anyone's ever watched the show Legion on FX, the thing that's based on the Marvel series, the guy that, you know, the kid that's basically Charles Xavier's son, right? Which watched him Celeste with the shadow people.
Oh, that scared the crap
out of me. Time eaters, is what they are, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And it's in the, you know, these things are just negative beings that basically you could say, you know, live in black holes. They eat time, they eat darkness. You know, they're trying to, you know, literally steal your essence, steal your time, take away from the whisper in your ear.
Yeah, they're just there to ruin your life because it's funny. Because they think reversed. So if they think reversed, they do reverse shit. It's crazy. Yeah. You know,
it's hard to understand. Season 3, episode 2, whatever. You guys got Hulu, it's on there. But the point is that there's things like this that exist, and, you know, as I told people before, when you're coming to things like the tantric realm, the astral realm, of what's thoughts are things, and in your own head, in your own mind, in your own space, you know, thought is truly as real in some senses as an actual physical object. You know what I mean? Good thoughts or bad thoughts, positive thoughts or negative thoughts. And there are unconscious thoughts that can be placed within through things like other people's thoughts, advertising, you know, long gone psychic revelations, whatever it is. And you need to kind of constantly be on guard, but in an unconscious way. You continually conscious, just like your body is set up to control your breathing and your heart rate, you have to think about it. You can set up unconscious wards that are just there kind of gently cycling all the time. You know, this is a good thing to do when you're meditating.
This is why mantras, even just your little affirmations are good. Say them all the time. Like what I used to do is I used to build them into my passwords and into anything so that I'm constantly reinforcing certain ideas. And I'll put them in pictures and stuff around the room so that I don't really see them consciously, but they're there. Just little things like that help me a lot.
It helps you keep that vibration going unconsciously. You know, when you're meditating and then not meditating, it's still there. You're set up to the frequency, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty anal, so I just focus on stuff like super a lot. I can't stop thinking about certain concepts. That's what I do. But I will do passwords and stuff like that.
So, you don't want to, like, oh, these things don't exist, or, you know, what I was going to say is it's all about kind of thinking around, you know, outthinking in terms of, like I say, thinking outside the box, thinking in terms of constructs and stuff. And a great example, if anybody's a Sandman fan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Love you, Morpheus. There's a classic story called The Hope in Hell, in which he's got to go back into hell to retrieve some of his possessions that were stolen from him while he was trapped, okay? And I won't ruin it for you, but it's a similar thing. It's a psychic battle. It's a battle of wits and, you know, agonistes type battle. And when you're being confronted in the psychic realm, you know, like you'll see a Green Lantern, class example. You know, I always think, you know, you're so busy, you know, making machine guns and jet fighter planes and shit. What about a realm where no violence can occur? You know what I mean? What about a space or a place where even the possibility, the thought of violence is anathema and could not occur? You know? I mean, you really think about it, man. He's completely wasting his power because he's like a little kid digging in a sandbox, you know, and the same thing on Legion. He's starting to really understand. There's these things, basically, as he keeps trying to walk toward a point, they just keep jumping him back in time, jumping him back in time, jumping him back in time. And, well, you can counter that a couple of ways. You can, like when you're doing karate, you don't punch, you punch through the thing. So you just jump past them. But he doesn't need either. He just builds multiplicities of himself. You know what I mean? Because he is God. It is his realm. It is his mind, after all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just stacks himself up like that. And that's a technique a lot of people never think of, is what we like to call the simulacrum technique, or the multiplicity technique. Where within your mind, replicate yourself.
Oh, dude.
Make 100 of you. Make
Dude,
1,000
this gets
of you.
me back
Make
onto
10,000 of you. You know what I mean? Keep them in there like your own active army that's just constantly there, replicating, cycling, there, taking strides, you know what I mean? Keeping everything kind of like a little mini clockwork regulated force. It's a really good way to keep you without getting into much your ego or the sense of self or the overall physicality of your being, and still be on guard.
What I was going to say, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Ann.
But what I was going to say is, like, once you getting to a point of not aging, like I said, is a very low level of immortality. Once you get a little past that, and you get to the point where you can choose to stay alive for as long as you want to, those guys will often do exactly what he's saying. They'll create spirit beings. They can set up a system where they will multiply infinitely, and they can, like, if you're like, how can all these spirits be talking to me at the same time? How can I be invoking, Dantalian's a friend of mine. How can I invoke Dantalian here and he's evoked over there? Because he's actually somewhere else, and those are all both extensions of his mind, and he can actually think with two or infinitely multiple minds at once, okay? But, like, if he were a human being, he's not a human being. But if he was an ascended master, say, like one of the Hermeses probably is, he can multiply himself too, and he can look like, and any of those guys can look like anything. So it's like you can actually have an intimate relationship with these people, and they will kind of know you, and like they might not recognize you for a second, but then they'll become aware.
Another handy attribute of this is that when you have made all these simulacrums and you're constantly kind of keeping them going, you know what I mean? You can use them as decoys in the sense that you must always be aware that they are a truly non-existent. If you've ever played like Bioshock, for example, a thing, you know what I mean? We create a decoy. It's not a thing of substantiality and flesh. It just appears to be. It's not even a hollow shell. It's literally an illusion, okay? But it's an illusion that can be made tangible at will, okay? It can be given form at will. It can be given mass at will. And so, yeah, you can use some of them, let's say, to draw out enemies and allow them to draw fire, so to speak, and use others to swarm them and let it replicate. But what I really like to do is instead of, basically once you've got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, you should have set up things in a way that you're not really seeing any more negative energy, because they are bullies and they only like to pick on the unable to defend themselves. They'll pretty much go away and fuck off and leave you alone. Now you can concentrate on helping people and talking to people, and if you want to, like, say, remote view or speak to someone in a different area, what I like to do to guys, like, go wandering, man. I hereby empower you with all the power and energy you need to just go, wandering wherever that you think you're needed, that your energy can help heal or expand. And then while you're there, if you feel like, let's say, Eric, I want to talk, I can use that simulacrum energy, so to speak, to project my consciousness into. Because if you think about it, even though we can go anywhere with the thought and potentiality, by building structures and building little cognizant bridges in our mind, like relay stations, I don't think it's much the relay is like a transformer. It's just stepping up at every time. And every time we're sending it out there, it's making it a little stronger. So by the time it actually gets to her, it can manifest that energy. We can have a really nice two-way conversation without too much dropped calls.
Yes, that's very well thought out. That's like very, he does this stuff instinctively, practically, honestly. But, like, yeah, that's something people do.
Sorcery and wizardry, you should really know. If things come to you, if you just kind of tend to invent shit, if you go, that's a cool way, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to the source, SOURCE, the source. You're a sorcerer. You are the creator. You're the chief fountain. You tend to bring things into being. And other people get to sit around, study it, figure out new ways to kind of sharpen the steel, so to speak, or add little things to it.
See, I'm kind of both a wizard and a sorcerer.
Basically, just by thinking about it, hon. You know what I mean? Just like I said, I like to use TV shows when and where I can that do these kind of things. I think it was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., oddly enough. They had a character called Multiple Man, like that. Or it was in one of the X-Men movies. There's a guy that can just make duplicates of himself. And just watch that and just see it and just have that little image in your head of him going, going in and out.
Yeah.
Then just put your face on it and literally see and feel yourself doing it. But as I say, feel them not as physical constructs, but as just, it helps if you can play something like Bioshock, where you see little intangible decoys that she opens up, you like these little pairs and she'll open up.
If you like Naruto,
right.
you know that there's a power where you can multiply yourself.
Just to say it's been like kind of like an invisible, see-through kind of shape, just like the lineaments of it, the outlines, right? And then a bunch of those, and then just fill them in as much or as little as you need to.
Yeah.
And if you want, like I say, you could have them mostly just walking around as little, halfway formed, little delineated, completely see-through things with just like the overall lines and doing stuff that way, or you can color them in and make them look just like you and have that walk around. You got to be careful though, because a lot of times people do that, and that's what we see ghosts are. They're literally just people who are alive still, but are unconsciously sending out their shit or sleepwalking,
it's true.
whatever. Listen. And they just kind of they manifest themselves that way. So when you send it out, be sure to give it kind of autonomous control, put it on cruise control, so to speak.
Let me say something really quick, because this is relevant. I started doing, I got a secret mantra from my guru, and it's one that offers you city powers. One of the things I wanted is like a matrix level excite, okay? So I did that quite a bit. At the same time, I was very, very sick. I had untreated asthma, and it was horrible. And I was sick all the time because I didn't have insurance, and they had stopped selling the over-the-counter inhalers. It was horrible. So I was like laying there in horrible sickness, and I started to be able to see through the matrix in a way, okay? Because I started to realize that when I'm visualizing myself walking around my house, at home here, where I'm at now, when I was away, that a little part of my soul was actually there walking around my house. And the reason that ghosts keep coming back is literally every time they think about the past, they're going to come back and be in the past. The only way to be at the house where they grew up, they're going to come back. For them, it's the past. For you, it's now. But they're walking around the structure that is what they remember. It's totally unconscious. Whenever they think of it, they have to experience it. And that's the only way to get over it, is to literally completely let go of the ego and the identity. Otherwise, continually come back forever, depending on how they passed and what they want.
Go ahead, teach you the mantra.
Oh, yes. Oh, I can't teach you the mantra. I don't know if I should teach you the mantra.
Oh, you told me. Yeah, you can't.
I can teach you some mantras, but it's a powerful one. Well, listen.
Well, don't anger Cliff. Just be careful, because I think when you get excited, you tend to say, I could show you this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will show it to you. I will show it to you if you want. I'll show you. First of all, the goddess is Siddhidatri, and she's the 9th goddess of Navratri. So today is the 2nd day. So in 7 days from now would be her day to start. She's the red goddess. She's the goddess that Shiva worshipped to get his superpowers. So, and that's what it says too. And I usually mean like a yogi who was a living person who became much more. Oh yeah. And any of her mantras, if you do them very, very, very sincerely, and you can find those on the internet. If you want to be a student of mine, I will give you the actual mantra for that I have. And to be a student, basically donations of whatever you can afford per month, you decide, and I will, be happy to teach you. It could be very little. It can be $1. It can be $5. It's not about the money. It's about the sincerity and the commitment. Because if you want to do that, like I said, you want to send me $5 a month. Oh yeah. You can be my student, and I will send you the mantra, and then you'll be dedicated.
Real quick on number 9, guys. 9 is an incredibly sacred number. It is the triplication of the triplicate. It is the only cardinal number whose multiplicities all add up to it.
Yes.
If you think about it. Okay, 9 times 2 is what? 18. What's 1 and 8? 9. 9 times 3 is what? 27. 2 and 7 are what? 9. And so on up the chain. The way it divides, the way it subdivides, the way it correlates to the Fibonacci sequence. It is a really potent, and it's always been a very sacred and powerful number. If you're seeing a lot of 9s, that's a good thing. That means 9 is fine. 9 is fine. Okay, 9 is fine.
Cool?
If you think 9 is the tone of it, it's very close to Ayin. The sign of the opened eye. So I've always kind of felt there's a correlation, even though there really isn't in gematria or Hebraic. Although, like anything else, you can always establish one. But yeah, just think of 9 as being your eye finally opened. Your third eye, it's your third eye times 3. It's 3 times 3. Try to always think of 9 as 3 threes. And it'll always be there for you. And as Tesla said, if we understood the secret of 369, we understand the keys of the universe.
Can I say something real quick? Here's something you can trip on. Anybody who's read or is familiar at all with the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and not the Emerald Tablets of Hermes, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which are much, much, much longer, and they might be channeled material, but even if they are, I've read them, I'm convinced they're real. I'm convinced it's accurate, okay? I'm convinced. So if you've read those, he talks about beings that live within the inner earth that for short they call 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 is the king of those guys. 9 is the king of all the numbers. I mean, literally, this could be a matrix thing where these are incarnations of the number 9.
Well,
you know what I mean? And I can't even fathom how that would be.
In the sense that there is a pattern to things, in the sense that there is a numerical constant that can be verified in terms of the Fibonacci sequence and the golden mean. Absolutely. I mean, there's a thing. Here it is. That golden spiral, right? If anyone's, oh my God, I don't know who people, if I talked before, there's an awesome Disney cartoon that everyone should check out called Donald Duck and Math Magic Land. MATHMIGC, Math Magic Land. It's all over YouTube. There's like the 27-minute version. Try and watch the 40-minute version if you can. But yeah, it goes into the Pythagoreans, chords, relations, all that kind of good stuff.
It's the most educational Disney video ever.
Yeah.
It'll explain so much of the world
in
to
the
you.
sense that all truly is math. And the Pythagoreans were right in that. All is vibration. All is mental. All is math. Everything is math. Everything is basically a mathematical constant or corollary, whether in terms of geometry or substance or whatever. And this thing shows it really, really well. It shows you all, and in a cool, fun Disney kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Really cool.
I was lucky enough to see this when I was a kid because it was Washington D.C. and Maryland. They didn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? But it is a Pythagorean thing. So there's one point where Donald Duck holds up his hand with a big ass pentagram in it, and as you can imagine, in certain southern states and certain other places in the U.S. in 19 people lost their fucking minds over it.
They
lost their fucking minds over Donald.
Some people are convinced that it's proof that Disney's in a cult. Yeah. And I'm like, their power is proof that they're in a cult.
Again,
I mean,
I don't want to give their opinions or religions. You know what I mean?
The pentagram is just a mathematical thing in that.
Yeah, I get it. But as I say, even though it's just what it was, it's a mathematical constant and nothing more.
Exactly. What's interesting is the first kings, the Sumerians specifically, they were, exactly. Our whole universe is binary code. I don't remember the scientist's name who discovered this, but they discovered a certain code that was invented in the 1940s by a guy named Claude Shannon, embedded in string theory equations. And to them, that means possibly we're inside a computer. It means that to me too. But I think we might be in a mind inside a computer. Because because the structure of the universe is the same as the structure inside of our brain.
And that is the first rule, the first law of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Kabbalion, Emerald Tablets of Hermes, the Kabbalion. Here. The universe is mental, all is mind. That's the first covenant of truth, because the universe, think of everything it is literally like a giant living mind. I mean, again, if you're going to read the Kabbalion, if you're going to get into the Emerald Tablets of Hermes, this is the key to all of them. This is the overriding principle of everything. This is what everything else kind of permeates from. The universe is mental, all is mind. And you are a reflection. This is the whole point of microcosm and macrocosm. It's a gigantic brain, your little tiny brain that it's kind of using to see itself. Just like I said, you are literally what I said in terms of the extension of this thing creating its own simulacrums and doppelgangers. We are simulacrums and doppelgangers of the macrocosmic mind that is the all, the entirety, the everything, whatever you want to call it, the force, this or that. And, that's the whole point. I remember seeing that when I was a kid and just digging at the whole concept of force and, the universe, this and that. And I always believed in chi. I'd seen demonstrations when I was a young man. And it's so hard for certain people and certain minds to understand that there is just this vital living energy that we're part of, even though you can prove that we're all just walking batteries, even though it's obvious, to anybody with the fucking 6th degree that we're biochemical batteries. We're literally bioelectric things, okay? That's why electricity affects us. That's what we do. We run on it. And electricity can produce heat. It can produce sound, vibration. It can produce many things. So, when you see the old tales of people doing this or that, it's not physically possible. Well, like anything else, depending on the vessel and its ability to attune and ability to rise, yeah, you can do great things. But don't let people put you down or keep you from achieving what you think you might be able to do, because the simple truth is, it's just like some Olympians who will be able to achieve great feats, they'll never achieve it, Yeah. Doesn't mean you should begrudge them. It just means that water has to seek its own level, and usually water will always flow downhill, but also tends to stop at some point. And if you're that thing and there's people that kind of just want you to flow further downhill with them, you got to let them go. You got to let them go and go down to their level so you can be free to swim at your own.
It's true. That was the hardest lesson I ever learned.
Emerald tablets. Well, the emerald tablets of Hermes are the Kabbalion, and then the emerald tablets. Or am I getting it wrong? Is emerald tablets?
Yeah, no, it's Hermes is the Kabbalion. It's the basic rules of magic. Everything is vibration. Everything is gender. It's those simple basic rules of reality. And the emerald tablets of Toad are much longer. It's a much longer book. It's very interesting. I'm convinced it's real, even if it's channeled. It's supposed to be something that's been passed down through a priesthood for thousands of years, but it might be channeled. And to me, like I said, I read it, and I think it's the more I read it, the more real it seemed. Okay, it was like, it's one of those things where you're like, it's too real. There's something that's telling me there's something real in this. Yeah. Yeah.
And ironically, I don't know if anybody ever watched the old $6 Million Man show as a kid, but I did. And I had the Steve Austin doll, and I dug him, and I had the Bigfoot doll. And if you guys don't know, in the old $6 Million Man show, Sasquatch is a robot created by aliens.
Boom.
Yeah. Bigfoot is a robot created by aliens. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that's true, but what's interesting is there's a lot of shit that
I don't think that they are actually robots, or that they were created by aliens, but are they an alien race? I'm not 100% sure, but I personally am beyond convinced that they do have contact with either other alien races or maybe their own alien races. I don't know, man. There's all kinds of weird things out there. When I was a kid,
they definitely get abducted because they've seen them together, and people see them together sometimes.
Yeah, and people talk about the vanishing stuff. And here's the weird thing. I read this. I mean, it's familiar with the Gore series, awesome science fiction series, very misogynistic. If you're not into B&D and that kind of stuff, don't go near it, man. It's still a really, really huge political
it's not for woke people, okay?
Just know that most of the female submissive shit his wife wrote, whatever. And
the one thing that excuses it to me is that no one ages in their world.
Yeah,
so
they have stabilization serum, so if you're pissy ladies, you never get old, so that's a benefit.
Yeah.
But in this world, there's a thing called the counter Earth, which is an Earth that's kept in literally perfectly diametric orbit from ours, so we can never see it around the sun, okay? And this world was populated by a race of beings called the priest kings that would correlate to what we would call the mantid aliens. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's another race of beings called the Kur or the Kurii, which are sort of like probably a wolf and an ape. You know, they're kind of big shaggy things with like 6-finger tentacle claws. They're very intelligent. They're very warlike. They literally destroyed their own planet, through internecine warfare, and then now they want another. And they are literally traveling through space in these steel worlds, literally like, Death Stars moving through space, okay? This is the plot. And I read this as a youngster, man, when I was in junior high, high school. Okay, fascinating, amazing shit, right? I was into UFOs and pyramids and all that kind of shit, but I'd never, and seen, as I say, the Steve Austin thing, I've seen that and Bigfoot, but I never made the correlation. But the more I learn about mantids, and the Sasquatch and different aliens and stuff, I gotta kind of wonder how much is true, how much is speculation, how much is utter bullshit, I mean, where I say 100% this and that, I sound like a raving fool, and I can't say that anything is for sure not, but I'm saying it does give one to ponder. It kind of gives you the question like, well, maybe, what if, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I didn't know that people had actually reported mantids. It was just a story when I fucking read about
exactly.
it. I mean,
mantids are a big deal now.
People are saying independent people who never read the John Norman stories, never knew anything about Gore, never did shit, lived in a backward shack somewhere, was totally different. And this guy said he saw a praying mantis.
Yeah.
And then you hear about more encounters like that. And then you hear about people talking about these, Sasquatch, this thing going on. And again, in the novels, basically, there's just two kinds of them, okay? There's the ones that still live in the ships. They come and go and do shit. Oh, they kidnap humans, by the way, which is a very salient point I forgot to put out there. Yeah, they regularly kidnap human beings for slavery. Not so much for food, because this world, unfortunately, slavery's still 100% legal. The priest kings keep it at a weird level where basically, like, there's no gunpowder, nothing like that. All weaponry is no more than spears or shields. and swords. Crossbows are okay, that's it, right? If they see anyone trying to make even like a simple thing of gunpowder, they strike them down to the sky. But technologically, their science, their medicine is way beyond ours. Like you said, their stabilization
Yeah,
science,
they don't age.
nobody gets old, nobody croaks.
That's the only thing, because I was like, it's horrible. These women are slaves and they're going to be thrown away. And they're like, no, they don't get thrown away. They just stay young forever. And you're like, well, it's horrible, but it's not as horrible.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
at least you're going to get thrown away.
And rape and kidnap women and sell them, the world. That's how they make, money for drugs.
And there are free women. But honestly, it's more desirable to be a slave, really, in some ways. If you want to be attractive, you know.
I mean, it was like a story I picked up in a library when I was reading Conan and stuff. I was getting D&D and all this stuff. Well, it looks pretty good. Full cover. But it's such a weird correlation, and the idea that maybe there are these alien races that are actually coming down here and kidnapping humans and taking them somewhere else.
Yeah, that's why I say don't get on the ships, because some of these guys look good, but they do believe in slavery. As long as some of them believe in a very high level of slavery where you won't even know it's slavery. Yeah. You'll just be like, I'm so happy, and I'm not go with those guys, But
they tell you, they told me to get on a ship too, man. Don't do it. That's
it's like, but a lot, exactly.
Pancakes, throw on trees.
Exactly. No, but if you're gonna they need miners. Apparently, the human beings are just still the best way to dig for things. That's not ever good slavery. Don't do that. And they won't let you know. Okay? So, don't just go if you're a random person. Only go if you know somebody or something, Yeah. If you're like, I dreamed of you for all my life, maybe then you should go. And that's it. That's the only situation, And it needs to be all your life, not just before, because they might go, that guy's a strapping young man. He'll be a good slave. You can't tell if humans are good.
I remember why I was
just because they look human doesn't mean they're good. But just because they look human doesn't mean they're bad either. So, it's just one of those things. You got to know the people you're dealing with. It's really that simple,
We try to keep it fairly eclectic here at the Tantra Hour.
Yeah, I'm just going crazy on the energy thing because we're just going to be changing everything up really soon. The network is going to change, and we're probably, we're going to be doing more videos and stuff, more energy stuff and more other things.
Trying to get outside a little more.
I'm sick and tired of politics for the moment because I can't even bear it. It just pisses me off. And so I'm like, I can't let myself be miserable forever.
Yeah. Please get out and vote if you feel like it. And if you don't, fuck it, man. At this point, I'm not.
It's 2020.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to encourage or discourage,
Yeah.
I really want to try to be as neutral and balanced and fair as possible.
Like, basically,
that being said, though, it is really important to vote, to get out there, to actually.
At least for your local things, because we have a lot of local things that we're going to vote for, so do that, but
ironically, more bills are pertinent and relevant to you than which fucker's actually sitting on the big chair in the big white fucking building.
Seriously, honestly, once you get to a certain level of eliteness, it doesn't matter what side of whether you wear blue or whether you wear red, you're a messed up person, okay? They don't get there without being vetted in their messed upness. And it's like, I have proof on both sides, that both of them are messed up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, I've always felt like if you live in the Pacific Northwest any higher than, I used to say fucking Sacramento, but I'll caveat it and say like Shasta, okay?
Yeah.
If you live in a place where psychedelic fungus grows naturally, you should be allowed to eat it, dude, okay? Because that's just fucking nature's trip. You know what I'm saying? It's not Jimson weed, you know what I mean? It's not fucking belladonna. It's just psilocybin. And admittedly, you can have some really, really bad trips if you eat too much and you got fucking problems beforehand or you're in a bad place or bad space. But usually, in my personal opinion, in terms of not just my experiences, but my observation of people, one of the main reasons those types of hallucinogens are illegal is A, they really make you fucking see shit and yourself for what it is. So for a lot of people that might have been very productive and useful without ever understanding the exact nature and scope of the consequences of their personal actions, you know what I mean? You suddenly get correlation. For example, you work for a company where you have a relatively decent job pushing paper or pulling handles or whatever the fuck it is, and you know that the company maybe isn't, the greatest in terms of its pollution record or whatever, but, you feel that this is offset by that and, you understand this, and all of a sudden you're tripping and you can literally for the first time see the depths of the sludge pouring out in the environment, the little kids growing up with cancer, and the backroom deals where fuckers are laughing and slapping. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because subconsciously you had to tune all that shit out just to get on with your life. You couldn't acknowledge it. You couldn't see it. You know what I mean? But now you can, and you can't turn off. So now what the fuck do? You go, oh, fuck this. I'm going to go off grid, live out the woods somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not conducive to a society that's predicated on the idea of willing but unwitting slaves doing shit because they don't understand the whole.
Which is why they like to make those things illegal.
Right.
Okay. You know?
So,
like certain other things are illegal too, but they're sort of okay and expected. But they're usually things that encourage that behavior.
It tends to make you wake up and see things for what they are and want to be a better person and being productive in the sense of helping others and being a little more equitable and balanced, you know, and maybe not being so avaricious and greedy. And as I say, that's really not conducive to a system where it's all about piling up as much fucking shit for a couple, 3 people in the playground, you know. And again, we're in a place where 1% of the population controls 85% of the world's wealth. 1%, 85%. 1%, 85%. And when you really see that, when you really understand it, when you're like, holy fuck, cognizant of it, you know, you understand there's really nothing you can do to change it in and of itself. It's a self-perpetuating machine. You know what I mean? All you can do is jump off. You know what I mean? Like, this thing's going for a ride, dude. The question is when it starts to go over the hill and down to fucking...
See, the thing is, even if you get to a very high level, if you put too much force of will onto it, it makes you ugly because you're forcing people.
So you're tripping on shrooms and you're like, I'm not doing it.
You know?
In fact, I'm not going to get as drunk as much anymore. I'm going to lay off the cocaine, the heroin, you know what I mean? People rarely do psychedelics a couple, 3 days or more, you know what I mean, without being in a really bad place or just wanting to party themselves, without coming to some kind of an awakening to themselves, realizing how much self-loathing or self-disgust there is or how unhealthy you are. It really, for at least me, always made me want to be healthier. I got to quit this shit. I got to go on more hikes. You know, you look how stiff I am. Look how my breathing is. I eat way too much sugar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why they're going to be very reluctant to ever legalize mushrooms because for a pretty long period, it's not going to be conducive to society and culture. It's not going to be inimical, you know what I mean, so much as it's just going to be inconsequential. You know, it's just like, nah, dude, you know, that was the whole point of the hippie movement, man. Everybody kind of went out and going, oh, fuck all this shit, dude. This is just, you know, fucking 2-car garage, the mortgage, the wife and shit. You know, my parents weren't happy. My mom and dad were miserable. They were divorced all the time. My dad died of a fucking stroke. You know, the house is still unpaid off. There was a lot of understanding, you know, that the American dream as it was kind of broken and marred, that even if you had the financial wherewithal to make it, that kind of thing doesn't really buy happiness, you know, and that's what led to, you know, the 60s, the 70s, B generation, people kind of turning inward, kind of getting in their own head, being like, I can't fix this shit, and I'm going to waste my time trying. We try to fix me, which led to much more nihilistic 80s, you know, when you had, it was just, and so, you know, I mean, you guys got to see for what it is. There's a progression, so don't begrudge yourselves. If you really look at our history of the past 30 or 40, 50 years, we've made so much fucking progress, culturally, socially, technologically, you know, but there's also this really huge impetus to just kind of bury your head and facing your crotch or cell phone and just tune out not just the world, but yourselves. You know what I mean? So, yeah, look up at the sky once in a while, you know, suck a dick, eat some pussy, get really happy, and just kind of like shadow people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just remember, it's hard to remember this, especially if you're suffering, but like if you DMT, everybody who DMTs finds out they're God. Yeah. And that they're doing, you know, and they're doing this themselves.
Like I said, your manifestation of it, you know, you just kind of get called back to the Creator. And like I said, you understand, oh, here's this big, beautiful, bright, shining jewel, and I have a part of it. I'm a facet. And that will facet right there. That's just a facet, you know what I mean? And that's how the facet expresses itself. Because if a diamond didn't have facets, it wouldn't catch the light. It wouldn't wink and mesmerize. You know what I mean? It is all those little facets amalgamated together that make a diamond so beautiful, as opposed to just a big spinning piece of solid glass, which is pretty too, you know what I mean? But doesn't refract the light the same way. It doesn't catch the light the same way. It doesn't bend the light the same way. It doesn't have that many expressions of itself that are all the same and yet unique and different. Exactly, and that's what we all are. We're just all little parts, just little sparkling parts of a bigger consciousness, you know, somebody's mind. And the reason the world sucks is because that person's suffering, you know. And really, that's what it is. Like, it's kind of a both ways kind of thing. You can kind of, the tail can wag the dog a bit in the sense that if we really could pull ourselves together, it would help the person. But vice versa.
too. You know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're in fractals, man. You know, and fractals are just such a beautiful little trip. You know, when you look at them, these kind of create themselves and then uncreate themselves and just kind of spin into themselves. And yeah, everything is constant.
I wanted to say something about Taoism really quick. In Taoism, and it's interesting because it kind of crosses over into Mormonism, and it explains a lot of things if you think about it. In Taoism, they believe you have an entire world inside of you, a literal planet that you can only touch with your spirit. And it's like when you die, usually you'll go to your own world. If you were worshiping a false god, you'll go to their world. And it might not be a happy world, okay? And that's the thing, these guys there's somebody out there who pretends to be Jesus, for instance, and they're not Jesus, but it's somebody who's okay, but they're not.
It's a false Yahweh.
It's not Jesus, though. You know, he's not horrible, but he's not where you want to be. So there are beings like that, and because we're so ignorant, we get fooled by things by things. But you know, you want to put your faith into something that reflects who you are. You know what I mean? How you would want to be treated. You want to put your faith into a God that's going to love you. You know. And in Taoism, you know, they believe that you can even create your own God or an aspect of that God that will be that way for you. But that lives within you and within the world around you.
Remember the movie Gladiator, guys? When even though all shit at the end, what's he doing? He's walking through fields of wheat, just touching it with his hand, the green, the grow, the farm he'd always wanted. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? For so many people. That's absolutely it.
And if you're a hateful person, or if you get even there's people who are such good people, but they get driven into such sadness that they end up in bad worlds too. And that's when other beings come in and try to heal them and help them overcome it. And that's the evil of the world when that sort of thing happens. You know, but it's like if you fill yourself with goodness and with light, the better world you're going to have within you, you know. And in Mormonism, what's interesting is when they believe when they die, they become planets and suns and stars and things like that. And it's possible that in another dimension, all these planets are people dreaming of us, in a sense.
Hey, you know, I've always felt that stars were alive in their own sense, and in a sense, maybe somewhat akin to us in a really advanced dream state, somewhat cognizant. But, you know, it's like a tree. I mean, one of the best exercises you can do to get into a good mental state is to time travel in the truest sense, which is to say, be a being that's not trying to, you know, like dip around, but become cognizant of time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not the way it's taught to you, the way you think about it, but just how you think, how you feel, and allow your mind to kind of go into those, you know, areas. Look at a star, realize that the light is literally you're looking backwards in time. You know what I mean? Try to think of time as a sensation. I mean, remember when you were like this age, like, oh yeah, remember how things felt that way? Like things felt this way at this time. There was kind of the cultural gestalt. You know what I mean? There's in the show Legion, there's this girl, she can time travel, and she goes to a hallway. Right? And one way is just like 10 minutes in the future, 20 minutes in the future, 30 minutes in the future, 40 minutes, right? Okay? And the other way is the same thing, 20 minutes back, 20 minutes forward. Now, when I was a kid and I first started to do things like this, I always envisioned it as a stairway. And when you go down, you go backwards in time. And that's why it's easy, A, to plummet backwards in time, and B, to lose it yourself because you can, you know, kind of fall in that little gap between the stairways, right? That's why it's a little harder to go forward time because you're walking up. And the more you walk and the farther you walk, the more tired you get. Yeah. Just like in a real staircase, you know what I mean? So you can vision that way, but what you really want to do is just, all right, we'll have to hold that one for next week, guys, but we'll get into it then. All right. Anyway, thank you for listening as always. We really appreciate everyone who's coming here. As you said, you know, unfortunately, Third Eye is going to be going and doing in other avenues, so we are going to be more on YouTube. But we want to thank Jenny so much for having let us do this
she's a great person. We've had a good time.
We really appreciate it, and we wish you nothing but success in your endeavors. Let everyone know where to come on. Yeah. Thank you, guys. And we'll try, she said, we're going to try to crank out a few more during the week, so look for us on YouTube and her Facebook out there. Yeah. In the meantime, have a really good week. Have really good sex. Have really good loving sex.
That's right. And we'll do more dirty stuff next week.
Oh, you're very welcome, Erica. You want to listen. Yeah, guys. Basically, fuck a lot, suck a lot, eat a lot, grin a lot, love a lot. And
joy keeps you young. That's the truth.
And do a lot. But
do a lot.
Make sure it's all fun shit. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for coming, guys. Ha ha. Come hard.